Hi everybody, it's Thelma Metha here and welcome back to one more video. Today we're going to be talking about Breaking Bad. I know it's been off the air for about 2 years, but I just finished watching it recently, which shows you how fast I am at dealing with these things. I actually started it a long time ago, probably 6 years ago at this point. I think I started in 2010 or 2009, and I watched about half of the first season and stopped because it was much more intense than anything I'd watched beforehand in a sense, and I just couldn't continue at that time. I took a couple years off, started up again, watched the first 2 seasons, took like a year off, watched another one, and then within the last month finished the last 2 seasons. So bits of it might be slightly off, but I feel like I want to talk about it, and I know enough about it, so let's go. I really liked the show, and I can see why everybody else really enjoyed it as well. It was really, really great delve into following a character who, has all the points to be sympathetic, and then does his best throughout the series to piss on every single one of those points. It's a very it's a show about the descent into evil. I guess at least that's what it's meant to be. It's meant to show about how a person who has like shit luck, bad day, and just like everything gets piled on him breaks, and then just starts going into not madness, definitely not madness, but just degenerates into evil, in a sense. And it works, and at the same time, it kind of doesn't, because throughout the whole series, you're supposed to, the main character, Walter White, you're supposed to hate him, right? By the end, he's a terrible human being, he's done horrible stuff, but at the same time, like, you can see they do too good of a job of explaining everything, of explaining his motivations and stuff, so he's still a little bit sympathetic. And that kind of defeats the point of him wanting to be made into a monster by the show. So it's a mixed bag. Yes, he's horribly evil, but at the same time you still feel for him. It's like, you did too good of a job at making him sympathetic. But it is a very, very good show. It is dark in its tones, and what happens definitely is very dark, but at the same time I have seen worse. I've seen movies and shows that are like with much grimmer and darker subjects and undertones, but that doesn't mean it's bad. Like I said, at the beginning, when I first watched it was like my first time. I guess when I was first watching it I hadn't, but by now I have. But yeah, it depends what kind of person you are, if you could stomach a lot of it. I had that moment where I would watch a few episodes, 3 or 4, and it would get to the point where it was just, what was happening was just so unpalatable to me that I just could not force myself to sit through another episode, so I would have to take a break. I would stop, take a day or 2 off, and then watch another episode. It's very but it's good. Everything that I've said, it's dark and stuff, but it's good. It's done well. Nothing is gratuitous or just, oh, this is super dark for edgy's sake. No, everything has a point in the show. Everything has a purpose, and everything is done spectacularly well. And the characters, even looking back, even the characters that I hated for 90% of the show, by the end, everything wraps up. I understand why they did what they did, why they acted that way, and you start feeling sympathetic for them, and you start liking them. It's like Skyler, Walt's wife. I hated her through the first 3 seasons, and it's you can see why. You see all the stuff Walt's doing, as a, you know, I'm being vague, but Walt was making meth, and you can see since you follow Walt through most of the story, like, and you see all the things he's done and all the shit he gets put through, to come back and to have Skyler nag and annoy him, and then just like cause problem of like just keep causing issues, you start hating her. Because you're sympathetic to Walter at this point, and you just hate her, and she's so irritating. But at the same time, she has to be that way because, one, she doesn't know everything that's going on. She knows parts, but she doesn't know everything, and she's just trying to keep her family safe and the kids safe. Like, it's understandable at the same point, and yet, it just all comes together. Jesse Pinkman is another one, Aaron Paul's character. Jesse Pinkman, who, if you've read, and if you know anything about the show, and if you read, he was actually set to die at the end of the first season, and was saved because of the writer's strike in 2007. And since they couldn't finish the first season, which was supposed to be 10 episodes long, but because of the writer's strike ended up only being 3 episodes, it saved his character. And that is great luck, because he is an amazing character and evolves as a character throughout the show, and it's just really, really fun to watch. Aaron Paul's performance is also really great. Obviously, oh my god, Bryan Cranston. Bryan Cranston's performance, I loved it throughout this entire series. He is amazing. Very different from anything else that I'd seen him in, because before I'd only known him as the dad from Malcolm in the Middle, and holy shit, does this show how much range Bryan Cranston has when you compare those two performances. The other characters are also really great, especially Bob Odenkirk as Saul Goodman, and I don't know the actor's name, but Mike, who comes in, I think in the third season, stays on. He's also a really great character, very interesting. Gus is interesting as the suave, millionaire and all that stuff. And of course, the DEA agent Hank Schrader, the DEA brother-in-law to Walter White, another great character, another one that's like serves as a good counterpoint to Walt, because he also runs into troubles, but at the same time he sticks with what he has, and just it's actually a very good counterpoint. I'll continue on. I'll explain more when he goes on, but Hank and Walt become, two sides of a coin in a manner because of what happens. I love the series. You should definitely watch it if you have the time and are fine with anything dark. Because I'll be honest, not everybody is. Even with something that's not super dark, but even to this level, Breaking Bad. Like, I watched a few episodes with my family, and my parents did not enjoy this at all. And I'm talking like the very first episodes, like the tamer stuff. My parents did not like it, and they refused. They just started pushing me out of them to watch it somewhere else. Do not watch this here. So it's not for everybody, but if you do like some dark stuff and undertones, it is a very good show, and definitely one you should watch. And I mean, watch it entirely. Don't skip. My brother stopped watching for a bit in the third season, and I finished the last 2 seasons without him, and he's asked, should I skip, the episodes and you just tell me what it is, and then I'll kind of come in later. And I say no. Even though some people have said, I've heard that some people say the 4th season is the worst, or it's bad, and you skip, but it's not. Everything is there for a reason. And the 4th season, yes, it's different, but it's not bad, it's just slow. Slow is the best way I can do it. It's structured. The 4th season is structured very different, in a very different state than the other 4 seasons, and it's just, because of what happens, it's just filled with a lot of slow movement in the whole action sense, and just a lot of tenseness. So it's kind of a mix, departure from what the first 3 seasons were, and what is the last season. But it's still very much worth watching. Like I said, everything in the thing is worth watching, and I would definitely recommend you check it out. I'll go into a bit more detail now, but now is when the spoilers are going to come up, so if you don't want any spoilers, you want to watch this movie, and it's watch this show. Even though it's been gone for a while, there's a reason why it got so many awards, all that, so much praise. Definitely check it out. It's on Netflix. You can get DVDs of it from Amazon and other places. Definitely check this show out. And now, spoiler stuff. So the story goes from the beginning that Walter gets cancer right in the beginning, first episode, and in order to have money for his kids and stuff, he decides he's going to start cooking meth and selling it. And the series then follows how he's trying to cook enough meth to get enough money to provide for his family and all that stuff. And it's a very interesting show, and he finds out how much money meth makes because he goes on a ride along with his DEA brother-in-law, Hank Schrader, and during that ride along, he sees one of his old students, Jesse Pinkman, leaving the scene of the crime and figures out that he's a meth cook, and decides he'll cook with him and to get into the business. The first season deals with them trying to do it, and then in the end, start signing up with a local larger drug dealer, Tuco Salamanca. And then, season 2 rolls around and they have their disputes, they kill him, stuff like that happens, and then they hook up with a much larger supplier who is essentially the drug kingpin of the Southwest, and then work as his cooks. Shit goes down, and then they decide they're going to take over, and eventually it all boils down to the ending episode, which, everything has to come to an end. I didn't go into specifics on that because, honestly, like I said, you should watch it, and if you get here, you probably can see where everything goes, but I just want to talk about some specific things left. What I meant when I said that Hank and Walter are two sides of the same coin are both of them face a huge problem that can, end their lives. Walter's got the cancer, and Hank, in the middle of the third season, gets shot by people who were coming after Walter and his family because they killed Tuco. So the cartel actually sent some people up and they wanted to kill Walter, and then Gus, the kingpin of the South, said no, but then sent them to Hank, and also then warned Hank so that he would be ready. But Hank doesn't escape. He does kill his attackers, but he doesn't escape. He gets shot about in his spine, and so loses mobility of his legs. Not permanently, but for a long time. And that right there, so you see the similarities where Walter's got the cancer that will possibly kill him, and Hank has, lost the use of his legs for a certain amount of time, but has the possibility to gain it back. And we see just how differently they handle this. Walter, as soon as he gets the cancer, he's depressed for a little bit, but he immediately goes to work and sees that, I have to provide for my family, I have to be a man. So he starts working, even if he's fatalistic and thinks he's gonna die, he's just I'll die with giving my family something. Whereas Hank, after he gets shot, he falls into super depression and doesn't even want to do the physical therapy, hates, and starts constantly yelling and being pissed at his wife and stuff, and just dragging himself down from a situation that he eventually does get better from and can escape from. He gets his mobility back and all that stuff, but Walt has cancer. Even if you get treatment and stuff, it's never gonna go away. That's the shitty thing about cancer. It never goes away. It just, you take the treatment, goes into remission, and then, you're safe it's not coming back, it's not malignant for a while. But eventually, it's gonna come back, and then you gotta do the treatment again, just hope it gets better. But it never leaves. You just see how different they were. Even though Walt went into, drug dealing and stuff, he's still proactive, whereas Hank, even with a lesser fault, just did not get up and do it. He just collapsed until other circumstances and increase his, other circumstances. The case that he was working on, which was inadvertently, though he didn't know it at the time, chasing after Walter, breaks through and he gets some more information, and it inspires him again to start working. So there's a dichotomy, and then also just Walter is a terrible person with the things he does, but he also just constantly looks after the people that he cares about, which even though he hates, they run into so many problems and ups and downs, includes Jesse Pinkman as his initial partner, and throughout the series, he's always looking after him until the point of no return. And it's an interesting thing to see that even if somebody does all these evil things that he ends up doing, so he still has something that he wants to protect, and some lines that he tries to not cross, even though he is so manipulative to try and just control every situation he's in. He still is trying in his own way to look out for Jesse. Maybe not first, maybe not second, but he's still like on the list, maybe third. The other characters are also like Saul Goodman is great as like the sleazy just lawyer type to get on. Like Bob Odenkirk plays him so well, and just it's a fun character. Every scene he's in, it's just entertaining. Like he is one of the lighthearted moments. He causes every time he's in, it's usually very entertaining, and he causes lighthearted moments throughout the series. And that's another thing with the series, like lighthearted moments. Like that's what it is. They're moments. It's never a whole episode is very like upbeat or anything. It's not. No, there's always just moments of happiness interspersed with all the depression, paranoia, and just action that goes on. That's just throughout the series. It's just moments of levity, and he almost always brings them up, and it's just he's a great character, and it's great that he got his own show afterwards, Better Call Saul. And like I said, a very interesting character. I haven't watched that. I might check it out after this, but I've heard great things of that as well, and definitely see why, considering what he's done here, that he definitely did deserve his own show. One of the last things I want to talk about, because I don't want to go into detail, I don't really care too much other than you should definitely check it out. The last thing I want to say is one of the episodes, the one episode that did won an Emmy for writing and a couple other things was Ozymandias, which is not the series finale. It is the 14th episode, so the third to last episode of the last season, and won an Emmy and stuff. And many people consider it the best episode of the series, and I understand why. Not just because it was very well written and stuff, because it was, but even though there's 2 episodes after that, that episode really does feel like the series finale, because all the stuff happens in that episode. The main denouement. It's like, I guess denouement is nothing, but basically that feels like the series finale. That's the end. Everything, most of the important stuff happened, and then the last 2 episodes are essentially the epilogue, which just wraps up the story. If you had to consider another things like Harry Potter's Ozymandias is the Battle of Hogwarts and everything is on it, and then 19 years later is the last 2 episodes, the small epilogue tying off the loose ends and then giving us the end slate. But I can definitely see why people love that episode and why it was considered the best of the series, because it was the ending. That was the ending, and that's so. I love this show, even though I've seen it spaced out so much. Most of the 90% of the actors are great. There's some characters are annoying and stuff, but they serve a purpose, and they're there for a reason. It's just a great show. Definitely one you should check out if you haven't by now. It's all ended, so you can just, marathon that on Netflix or grab the DVDs if you really want to and run it through there. But once again, definitely check out this show. Breaking Bad. Awesome show. Thanks for watching one more video.